Hello and welcome to the TMC Newsroom. My name is Rich Tehrani, coming to you from Interop 2011 in Las Vegas. On our program today is Kevin Gavin. He is the CMO of Shoretel. Kevin, welcome back to the show.
Good, Rich. Good to see you again.
Great to see you.
Always.
So I'm going to start off by saying congratulations on your financial performance. You've done a splendid job in a market that's been quite challenging for some others, right? There was the implosion of Nortel over the last few years, and Mitel certainly struggled, and they're both companies that we're playing in or are playing in the space you're in, and you've done well. You're at a 52-week high.
We announced earnings just last week. We had a 39% year-over-year quarterly growth. It was the fourth quarter in a row where the revenue growth was higher than 30%. So we're clearly outpacing the industry growth and capturing market share. So life is pretty good. We're really happy.
So I talk to your resellers and they tell me that the reason you're doing well is because your products are easy to use and you have consistent branding and consistent promotion. So that's what your resellers are telling me. What's your take on it?
We've known forever the Shoretel advantage, and we have raving fan customers, and what they like is that it's easy to use, it's brilliant simplicity. There's no doubt about it that that's what drives customer satisfaction, that's what drives the business. At the same time, the challenge we had in the past is that people didn't know who Shoretel was, and so when we got in a deal, we could always convince people that Shoretel was the best answer. Once they chose Shoretel, customers became very happy with it. The challenge we had is not enough people knew about Shoretel, and frankly, thanks to interviews like this and folks like TMC and you guys and getting the word out, that increasingly people are starting to see that Shoretel is the answer, and now it's Cisco, Avaya, and Shoretel are sort of the three companies that seem to be in the race, and we're really, really pleased that more and more people know about Shoretel, and as a result, we're finding revenue growth just like we were hoping for.
So you've got viewers right now that are on the fence, and they probably are looking at Cisco, Avaya, and Shoretel. That's their short list. Maybe there's a few others on the short list. Why do they pick your company?
At the end of the day, what it really comes down to is this concept of brilliantly simple. I think that the Avayas and Ciscos, they're fine companies, we respect them, they can meet requirements. When a customer's got a set of requirements, we all are able to meet requirements. The challenge is those solutions tend to be complicated. They're just kind of hard to do. You need a partner, you need trained staff, you need certifications, and it's just complicated. And the complication ultimately leads to costliness. And so the total cost of ownership isn't just the upfront purchase price. The total cost of ownership is the upfront purchase price plus the ongoing maintenance and support. And when the system is fundamentally easier, Shoretel is fundamentally simpler and easier to maintain and operate, the cost of ownership over time is dramatically less. So those other alternatives can meet the checklist, we all meet the checklist, but we urge customers, look into how complicated is it and what is going to be your total cost of ownership over time. And when people go to that level of detail, we have a very high win rate.
So if I'm a competitive company to yours, what I would say is that, sure, it's simpler, but there's some features missing that you may not know you need today, but you need tomorrow. How do you combat that?
That's the brilliantly simple. I think some people have this notion that there's a trade-off. If it's going to be simple, it's going to be lacking features. If it's going to be feature-rich, it's going to be complicated. And we fundamentally reject that premise. It's just not true. Our feature set, our capabilities meet requirements. We have no problem meeting requirements, and any customer that's got a set of requirements, if we don't meet the requirements, then they shouldn't buy from us. But we rarely find any set of requirements that we don't meet. So it's not a matter of simplicity equals sacrifice. Simplicity can coexist with high quality and low cost.
Would it be fair to compare it to, let's say, iOS in a mobile phone world? Apple's iOS?
I do think that's, the raving fan part is kind of similar. I mean, people love Apple, and it's largely, what's Apple good at? It's industrial design and user interface design and ease of use. And at a similar level, that's what the customers love about Shoretel. And we don't sacrifice features, we don't sacrifice capabilities. We make no apologies, we have no shortcomings in terms of a feature set.
So about 4 or 5 years ago, you could come to Interop, and if you threw a tennis ball, you'd hit 6 booths. 5 out of the 6 booths would be touting something green. I don't see that word anymore at this show. I'm curious, is green something that customers still ask about, power utilization, or is it just not in vogue here, but it's something customers want?
I think that still, we still talk to customers who care about green. I think that again, the Shoretel, we have some advantage there in terms of power consumption. The distributed architecture and nature of Shoretel, fewer servers that are power hungry. We also take great care in our design on our phones to make sure that they have low power consumption. They go into sleep mode. And so we are highly sensitive to green. At the end of the day, we discovered is, customers aren't necessarily willing to make a purchase decision based on green. They want to know that you're green, and I think all of us are good, sort of environmental corporate citizens, and we all try and do our part. And there again, we feel like it's a competitive advantage, but it's not one we see customers necessarily making a decision on, and it's not one that the vendors tend to make a big deal about.
What are your thoughts on mobile strategy, and what are you doing there, and what's the future?
It is core and central to the Shoretel approach, and really another place where we have a very strong competitive advantage. Back in October, November, we acquired a company. It's called Agito Networks, and now it's the basis of Shoretel Mobility.
They made FMC products, right?
It was. Basically, that was where they came from, and there was a great team of engineers and leaders. The entire team came across as well, and so it wasn't just a technology purchase, it really was a core competency purchase, and it's fabulous. It's the ability to put to make any smartphone into an extension of the PBX, and that's essentially what Shoretel Mobility does. And it's PBX agnostic, so Shoretel Mobility works equally well against an Avaya PBX, or a Cisco PBX, or a Shoretel PBX, and so we've maintained that PBX agnostic. It's a whole new development for Shoretel to be able to be selling mobility to customers for whatever reason have chosen Shoretel,
right,
Cisco, or Avaya, and it's PBX agnostic. It works both over the cellular network, but also the Wi-Fi network, and the user doesn't care or know if you take out the phone and you're within range of Wi-Fi in the hallways of your office or at your home. It just works over Wi-Fi where there might not be good cellular coverage. If you're driving down the street, it works over cellular. So you don't know and you don't care. There's tremendous cost savings associated with it. Long distance international costs get dramatically reduced. Roaming charges get dramatically reduced. And so the CFO loves it, but also the business owner, the VP of sales loves it because it's employee productivity. When you make your call from your Shoretel Mobility, your caller ID is your work DID, so your call gets answered, your callbacks come to the right number. You've got access to your corporate directory. It's like having that desk phone but in your pocket. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. It saves money, improves productivity, and works against any PBX. It's a juggernaut. We've got very large enterprises that really aren't the Shoretel target market now looking at Shoretel Mobility and purchasing from us. So it's very exciting.
Now, what about tablets as phones?
It's another thing. The Shoretel Mobility is an app that you can get from the Apple App Store, and it can be downloadable equally to my iPhone. It can be on your tablet as well. It can turn your tablet into an extension of your PBX.
Is there less of a need for a desk phone then?
Well, we're finding customers are still buying desk phones. We're happy to sell them desk phones, but at the end of the day, there are some people who are road warriors who say, look, I don't go to my office very much. I really don't need a desk phone. And our answer is, well, that's fine then. You really don't need one. With Shoretel Mobility, your smartphone becomes your extension of your PBX, and the desk phone becomes optional. It's a speakerphone, it's nice to have, but it really is not necessary, and some customers are choosing to save that money and go with mobility instead.
So maybe part of the reason why I'm not seeing the word green at Interop that often is because it's replaced by cloud and virtualization. What are your thoughts on those two topics?
Shoretel works in a virtualized environment. Both we can put our HQ server in a virtualized environment in a data center. We can virtualize the desktop for call control, so we fully embrace virtualization. And as it relates to cloud, the distributed architecture works very well in a cloud environment. Many of our customers today deploy Shoretel in a private cloud. I've got a 15 location MPLS network, and one of them is a data center. They put the Shoretel PBX equipment in the data center and support it over the private cloud, and it works really well. So those are two mega trends that we line up very nicely with.
Thanks. What's next for the company?
I think it's onward and upward. I mean, we're really excited. I mean, the stars seem to be lining up for Shoretel. The company is firing on all cylinders. We recently opened up 2-tier distribution in the United States, so we have ScanSource and Westcon as distributors for us, and so we look forward to seeing 30% plus continued revenue growth, and we're just looking forward to continue to serve customers and make them happy.
Now, was there some magic that happened, because 3 or 4 years ago you guys had some problems, and you have been, in terms of rebound, one of the fastest rebounding companies I've seen in terms of execution. What happens, what's your advice to companies that might have a hiccup in their earnings or a hiccup in their operations? How do they get back on track and be as successful as your company is right now?
I think it's focus, discipline, and execution. I mean, we have a good sound strategy and execute against that strategy every day. We've got seasoned management, we've got great partners,
you had some new people come in, right? You had a new CEO come in, right?
We do have a new CEO. Peter Blackmore's our CEO. He's tremendously experienced, got great international experience, very much focused on large businesses and all businesses. He's got great distribution experience, and so certainly, leadership matters, but all throughout the entire organization, up and down. Peter will be the first to tell you that the Shoretel team is really firing on all cylinders. They're fired up, motivated employees, working hard, passionate about customer service, passionate about helping customers succeed and win, and so it all comes together.
Fantastic. Thanks for your time.
You bet. Thanks, Rich.
Great.
Always. Take care.